Hi, so today I'm going to show you how to replace a keyboard in a laptop. This one I bought off eBay. It was supposedly a non-working laptop. It's got like a chipped corner. It's not in the best condition, but most of the time it's something simple. In this case, the keyboard doesn't work. So today I'm going to show you how to replace the keyboard in a Lenovo 120S-11IAP. If you're not sure what model, just turn it over and it will show you at the top, just here. This is 120S-11IAP. Now you'll need a few tools for this. You need a prying tool. You'll need a screwdriver with a T5 Torx and a couple of Phillips heads. One that's just a standard small Phillips head and one that's very small and with a flat tip. I recommend just putting some post-its with the case screws, motherboard screws and the hinge, because the screws are not all the same. So start by taking out these screws. Now use the pry tool, and I normally start at the hinge or along here. You will have to work your way around, but this is kind of the least fragile part. Once you've got the back open, you can just lift it off. Then you won't need Torx again, so just change it to medium screwdriver and we'll take out the battery. So it's got 5 screws. And just wiggle this connector out. You don't need much force. Next, we'll undo these 3 screws. This screw, this screw, this screw, this one, and this one, and this one. Then remove the Wi-Fi screw. And these ones are a small screw that's kind of flat, so you can try and use the same screwdriver, but if you can't get it out, just use a smaller tip with a flatter tip. So we've got those screws out, these screws, that one, this one, Wi-Fi, and those 3. Now you've got 3 hinge screws here and 3 hinge screws here. Just go back to the medium Phillips head again and take these out. We just undo the keyboard and undo the trackpad. So just lift up the latch and pull it out. And that's down. Now lift these up and take this side out first. Then just lift this up a little bit. You'll need to lift up this battery, which is glued onto the board. Lift up this and just take the Wi-Fi card out, but leave the cables attached. Now you can lift this up high enough to pull it out, but before we do that, just make sure you've taken the display cable out, which is this one. So you can just pop it up, then lift up the board, and you can, once it's high enough, it just kind of comes out. Now, when you get the new keyboard, it doesn't have a trackpad, so you need to take this trackpad out and put it into here. There's 3 screws. Sometimes there'll be a piece of black plastic and you just peel that off and then you can see these screws. Then the trackpad, you can lift it up from the inside and it just comes out. There's 2 tabs that it rests on, and just to line up with the top screw holes, there's some plastic stubs as well. Now, when you get a replacement keyboard, sometimes this won't be stuck on, so you have to get this piece of plastic and fold it. There'll be a line that shows you the fold. In this case, it aligns to the bottom of the screw. Then you peel off the piece of adhesive and fold it on this line, and on the base there's another line, so you just fold it on that one. Now, trackpad's in. Just check that left click and right click are working okay, and there's no gaps. So the last step is you just lift this up to open the hinge, and then just bring it down to separate it. So there's nothing else to take off here. Put that aside. Now when you put this back on, there's a small notch here, which is for this cable, and there's a small notch here, which is for these Wi-Fi cables. So you just have to align it, feed the cable in the notch, then hold the hinges and just shut it. So you have to fold this and make sure it's stuck onto the keyboard before you put the motherboard in, because this goes under the motherboard. Just see that? Lift up a little bit, put the Wi-Fi card back in. So make sure there's no gold parts and that the Wi-Fi lines up with this hole. Put these screws back in. Then put the keyboard back in and the trackpad. So just align this. Make sure the notches are in and that it's horizontal or parallel to the board. So just push in until the line, there's like a black line that lines up with the white line of the connector, and put in the hinge screws. And for this connector, you just have to align it with the socket and then just push down. And it will click. So then just check all the cables are in, speakers are all in. We'll change the small screwdriver. Next we'll put the battery. So just make sure that the cables are all flat. And we'll put the connector in first. Now, once the screws are all in, we need to test if the keyboard works. When you press the power button, the light will turn on and then it will turn off and then it will turn back on. So once it turns on, just open Notepad, click in the search box, type in Notepad and press enter. And we just want to test all the keys, so just start with this top row and go through to all the characters. Okay, so that's all working fine. So then just shut it down. And then to put this back on, just put the front in first. And you can click all the parts in. You can also just test if a USB fits, so that's okay. Yep, so that's fine. Then go back to the Torx tip, it's a T5, and we'll put the screws in, but you put them in a cross pattern. So this one, then this one, this one, then this one, and then do it like that. So that's now ready to go. When you turn it on, you can just check that the keys still work. Normally it's fine, but sometimes the cables, just the angle of being pushed on the cable when you put the case back on, sometimes it stops the keyboard working again. So if that's going to happen, you just take the back off, check the cables, and just try it again. If it works fine, put the case back on and test it again. So now you know how to replace the keyboard in a Lenovo 120S-11IAP. If you have any comments, leave them below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.